Morning. Night shelter. First of all, let me introduce myself. I know I'm Stuart Johnson, but give you a little bit of background. My wife is the coordinator of Teen Challenge in Newport, and we've been volunteering in Teen Challenge for about 18, 19 years, 20 years. I always get it wrong. She'll correct me when I get it wrong. And we've been working with the guys out on the streets, and I'll explain how I come into it, or how it works a bit further on. But really, how did I get here? I really don't know. Honestly don't know, because my background is nothing like this. So if you're thinking there, oh, night shelter, homeless, you know, my background is business. My background is comfortable. My background is nothing like this. I've never been into drink, drugs, or anything like that. And in one sense, I'm quite proud. And I actually tell the guys, I don't know one drug from another. I understand the cannabis because I understand the smell of it, and I recognize it by that. Other than that, I haven't got a clue. So if you sat there thinking, oh, this person's got a background in this, no, I haven't. So I'm being truthful there before we start. Newport Night Shelter. We based it around Matthew 25, 41 to 45. I was hungry and gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger and did not look after me. I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for John. It was quite the shock, actually, to be invited. So I'm really blessed to actually be here. And Mother Teresa said in one of her quotes, in the poor we meet Jesus in the most distressing disguises. And that, I honestly say, is true. In the situations that I've been put in the situations I've seen Jesus. Some of the guys, a bit questionable, but no, I've seen Jesus. I do not sing. Julian and Helen knows me, and my wife. I do not sing. I've got a video, and I'm going to put that on, and I'll explain afterwards why I use this one. that is it's a song done by Ed Sheehan. I always get it wrong. He's in the charts. It was really popular this year, but it actually tells a fantastic story, and I love it. And also, when you talk to people, they think that's the classic homelessness. Somebody that's going to drugs. Can I ask before we start for everyone to put their hands up who hasn't made a mistake in their lives? Anybody? When I talked one time, a gentleman got his hand halfway up and then realized what he'd said. But basically, the decisions that we have made ourselves may have cost us a friendship, may have cost us some money, may have cost us a relationship with a family member. But maybe the decisions that was depicted in this DVD has been made by them or made for them. We see many people that are on the streets that haven't made the decision consciously to be in that place. They haven't made the conscious decision to be on drugs or alcohol or anything. If you saw some of the places where people actually sleep and what have you, I think I would take drugs or alcohol. And I was talking to somebody in the night shelter the other night, one of the coordinators, and they said, I could never sleep on the streets. And I don't think I could. It is horrendous. And people say, oh, we'll just get a job. That's okay. But in this day and age, getting a job is hard enough if you've got family members and people around you to help you. Lots of guys are actually divorced from their family. They don't see them. They could be in another part of the country and they just can't get there. And what happens is people end up on a cycle that goes downhill. And if you haven't got an accommodation, you can't get a bank account. If you haven't got a bank account, you can't get a job. If you haven't got a job, you can't get accommodation. And it's a downward spiral. And there is a culture, and we say it's talked about by the government, the breadline. But there's a culture actually now, and it goes deep, and I mean deep, down underneath that breadline. Because their breadline actually looks at, well, have they got a car? Do they have transport? Have they got accommodation? What sort of accommodation? They don't actually talk about people that can't put food on the table. And that's really, it's what I would class, and I do get into trouble for saying this. In the night shelter, we help the true homeless. Okay, it's because there's guys that get on the streets and they get so far down, they just don't want help. But you have to be there for when those guys say yes. And who is the best person? I'll put this out. My only question to you, please interact with me. Who is the best person that they can turn to? Exactly. So who has the answer? The church. Okay? But for many years, and I also get in trouble for this, we've closed our doors. And we say, open the doors up and we say, come in. And we say, this is church. Church is out there. This is where we fellowship. This is where we get built up. I really thank God for people like John that are theologians and get into the Word of God and are able to unpack it and give it. I'm certainly not a theologian. I'm certainly not a teacher. But I can go out there. I can go out there and share God's love. And sometimes I've got to use words. Our vision in Newport there's a need in Newport for emergency accommodation for sleepers while long-term solutions are being sought. A night shelter fills the gap. And this came about because we saw the guys out there. We saw the guys, they couldn't get in. Other guy, he actually came onto the bus. He was from living in Chepstow. He came to Newport because he was 64 years of age. He travelled the world. He was an electrician by trade, and he'd been in the Sahara Desert. He could speak 4 languages. Great. He'd come back to the UK and it all fell apart because he'd rented a place in Chepstow, done a job for somebody. They owed him over £5,000. They didn't pay him. He'd never been in that situation before. So he said to his landlord, look, I haven't got the money, I'm out. And he left. If he'd gone to the council, they could have helped him. But he didn't know that. And I know a bit more now, but I still wouldn't know what to do. There's a direct access hostel that is supposed to be to help people like this. Jade, my colleague, the 2 of us run the night shelter, was actually working in the hostel group. And even with her working in there and sort of persuading, should we say, the manager to do an interview, it actually took 5 weeks to get that guy into accommodation. Our vision is to offer a safe and warm place for those who welcome anyone over the age of 18. Why over the age of 18? How many have got teenagers? Sorry, girls. You know, it's hard enough. Would you want a bunch of teenagers come into a night shelter? I wouldn't want to see them and put them at risk with the guys. And I don't mean at risk because these guys are dangerous. I mean at risk because they see things that at that age they should not see. I know we have a wonderful media now that tells you everything, but they don't. They still hide an awful lot. How we began. Teen Challenge has been meeting with the rough sleepers on the street using a mobile coffee bus for the last few years. There have been no emergency accommodation in Newport, and after a few cold, wet winters and depressing Christmases, the volunteers were moved to something. We came up with a cold winter night shelter to put Newport's rough sleepers up during the coldest winter months. We presented the idea to the churches. Ooh, that was a good one, outside the box. Go to the churches and say, open your doors and take somebody in and sleep on the floor in the church. What? Some of the comments I had, not all polite, but somebody said, well, what if they drop something on the carpet? I turned around and said, well, there's a hoover in the cupboard or there's a brush, sweep it up. But you'll get more mess in children's church than you will off these guys. We opened the doors on November 31st and closed on 31st of March. That was now 4 years ago. We've used 14 church buildings, 7 for the first 2 months and 7 for the second 2 months. I always put this in, reasons for being homeless. And this is not a governmental thing. This is not a church statistics thing. This is our own, okay? This is what we've done. Because whenever you talk to people, they think of homelessness, they think of addiction. But that, by a mile, is why people are homelessness. I had a lady back 2 years ago, and I still can't get my head around this. The relationship broke down and her husband threw her out. She went to the police and she couldn't get help. She went to the council and the council said, well, you've got a house, you're on the mortgage, we can't do anything for you. Where'd she go? She ended up actually being referred to us at the night shelter. She was with us for nearly 3 months. Now you think, oh, well, you know, she wasn't very well off and what have you. When she threw it out, her husband stopped all the money, changed everything so she could access no money. 6 months before, they'd renewed their membership to that little tiny hotel on the Junction 24. I think it's called the Celtic, to their leisure suite. Now, during the day, this lady would go to the Celtic and she would have a swim and she would shower and keep herself tidy. During the night, she was sleeping on the floor of a church. Our volunteers, she would come in and she'd either be verbally abused by the telephone from her husband or family member, and she'd be inconsolable. She'd even keep a college course going during the week. Nobody knew. We knew, but nobody else knew. She even kept her part-time job going all through this. And again, it took ourselves, it took 2 other agencies, and we had to do a thing. And Jay took her to Newport housing officers, bless them. Anybody from Newport housing here? Oh, thank God for that. No, she took them there, and this was for an appeal. And you walked in, and it's all changed now, and it is really nice there, but all changed. And you basically walked in, and they had glass, and it was a booth behind. And Jade was sat with her, and this woman walked through. She hadn't read anything. She hadn't looked at anything. Oh, it's you again. You got no chance. She'd made her mind up. This lady was in her late 50s. It didn't alter until the one Wednesday she went to Chepstow to do a college course, and the husband turned up, and they had an argument, and he gave her a beating. That night she was taken into a hostel, but until that moment she was out on the streets. As I said, 7 churches, each offer their church building 1 night per week, creating a night shelter. And that gives you an idea of what it's like. That's St. Paul's in Newport. We use air beds. You can see the bags. We use quilts. We buy them so they're all matching, all one colour. Because people said, oh, well, I can donate a quilt cover. You can imagine, can't you? People go into their cupboards and what have you, and have a bright pink one and a floral one and a blue one and something. And it'd look awful. You know, we keep it the same colour. We didn't change it this year because we got a couple of sets and they're still in good condition. And to be honest, we didn't have the money this year. So we thought, right, we'll just get some extra quilts and some extra air beds because they do eventually break. I don't know. One. Right, numbers. This will give you a guide. Our first year, 93. Guests we helped. Second year, 121. It went down to 93. Oh, you think that's better? We couldn't move the guys on. We have male and female in. We couldn't get them anywhere for them to go. There's a hostel group that actually runs all the hostels in Newport. And unfortunately, if you fall behind with arrears and it's top up, and you think, oh, that's okay, they go in there, it's no problem. Their top up averages round about £19 to £22 a week. For that, they get nothing. I took a guy to a place he's an alcoholic, but we got him through a detoxing hospital, and we got him into a rehab in Swansea. And we took him there. I took him there earlier on this week. There, he pays top up on his housing benefit of £26 a week, and he gets all his food, he gets all his washing, everything that he needs, snacks, anything. And that's all in £26. In Newport, they pay that top up and they don't get anything. Now, if they fall behind, which some of them do, because they're quite chaotic, then that goes up. That's, if you go to court, you get it knocked off after 5 years. God knocks it off straight away. The group, actually, I tried to get somebody in last year, 9 years that they owed. and they still won't let him in because they've got top up and they haven't paid that arrears. I've got actually somebody is out and about. He can't access it because it's 15 years. Last year, as you can see with the requests, we stopped counting at 1,451, and that was only halfway through. Other issues, human trafficking. Human trafficking in South Wales? Yes. What happened, we had one guy, he was actually taken from a hostel in Prague. He was registered disabled. They took his benefits off him. They took everything off him. They took his bank account details. He had 11,000 crowns, which was a lot of money in that country. They took all that off him, brought him over here to work. The only problem is they didn't quite think it through because he was registered disabled. And although he looked all right, he had a problem with his from his knees down and his feet. And they realised this on their way to Swansea in the van. So they took his shoes and socks off, took his coat off. This was in January, if I remember. And they dropped him off on the motorway. It was freezing cold. Unfortunately, they didn't bother to stop when they dropped him off. They threw him out of the van. He was collected by and brought to the Newport police station, and they suddenly realised when they got to Swansea, well, people will be looking for him, and they may be looking for us. So they went into Swansea, and they went into Cardiff, they went all Bridgend and Warwick, into the police stations. Praise God they didn't come to Newport looking for him. We've lost our uncle, he's wandered off. Through the night shelter we kept him. The border agency came and interviewed him and what have you, promised him the earth, he got nothing. Because where he came from, there's no recourse to public funds. So when people say they come over here, not only if they're from the European Union do they get anything. Other than that, they get nothing. We actually helped him. We've got him through Salvation Army, we got some new shoes, and then we got some proper inserts for helping to walk. In one of the night shelters, there's a optician. They got him his glasses so he could then see again properly. We got him clothes and we looked after him. And then through one of the agencies, because my colleague Jade is in anti-trafficking, and through somebody she knew and the police found, we managed to get him back, and they got him to back to Prague. They got social services over there. They helped him. They found him accommodation. And we followed it up, or actually an officer that I know followed it up a couple of months later to see how he was. It wasn't until then we found out that the year before he'd lost his son and his wife. Asylum seekers, we do get occasionally asylum seekers, not many, refused asylum seekers, and as I said, no persons with no recourse to public funds. This gives you an idea of the night shelters. We got all different churches. That one there is St. Julian's Methodist on Killeen Road, Salvation Army, St. Julian's Baptist. That one there is St. Mary's out at Malpas, top of Bettis as you drive through. So we've got Anglican, we've got Baptist, we've got Catholic, we've got them all. Okay? We're not fussy. Through what we've done in Newport, we've helped Merthyr churches come together, and they run the night shelter last year, and they're also running this year. Swansea, again, we helped the churches in Swansea. They came together. They were running last year, and they're running this year. Cardiff, the same. There's good provision in Cardiff, but they've also come together, and they're sort of mopping people up. Western, they asked me, and it was my first time that somebody actually said, look, I'll pay you to do this. But they left it a little bit late. They didn't ask me till the 1st November. They needed to know whether there was a need over there, because it's a seaside town, and they don't have any hostels there. So they, as I would say, export their people to either Taunton or to Bristol. If a family relationship breaks down, then away they go, and they won't come back, especially at this time of the year. Summer's different, but this time of the year they get entrenched and they don't come back. So unfortunately, it was myself made the decision that not to do it this year, but get everything ready and do it properly next year, because something like this has to be sustainable. It's not a one-year project. This is ongoing, because I got some bad news for you. Things are getting worse. And my Bible tells me it's going to get worse. And I've seen it. How can you support? That's practically. But there's one thing above all that myself and Jade ask for, is prayer. Prayer for ourselves, prayer for the volunteers, prayer for the guests. And everybody goes with gusto at the beginning, and I know it's already starting to tail off. We started on the 3rd of December, and trust me, I can see that the prayer covering is starting to go down. And things start to happen, hence I was a little bit late this morning. But please, 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 if you can do nothing else, pray. But there's different stuff from what have you that you can do. If anybody wants to do something, let me know later. Again, that gives you an idea of the churches. Again, that one there is Justin Groves. He's my vicar. Okay? He got involved right in the very beginning when we took it, went to the churches, and he said yes, straight away. Before he even went to his PCC committee or whatever they call themselves. That there, dressed up, the lady at the back there is the vicar of St. Matthew's. That person there is actually, or was, one of the guests. And we had a Santa suit, and he said, I'll dress up. The first year, we did presents. And the second year and third year, and we'll do it again this year. But it's only something small. It's something like pants and some gloves and a hat and what. Only something simple. Jade went in and gave out the presents. And one of our guests went up to her and said he was 32 years of age. And he said, oh, thank you very much. And she said, well, it's only something small. He said, it means a lot to me. He said, I haven't had a Christmas present since I was 5. She went outside and cried. This was written by a guest. Until I was not lucky enough to have the use of the night shelter, I really didn't think I would go on. But with the care and concern and support of the volunteers, I began to see the light, a light in the darkness. I know that I will make it. God bless you. And thank you always. I remember your generosity, and kind thanks, Jane. It was her and there was a friend. Now, we set up referral agents, so they referred to us. It's not an open door policy. And one of the people that we actually help on the bus, they brought these 2 ladies to me. And I think Jane would have been about, it's very difficult to sort of gauge. I would say that the one lady was sort of in the late 40s, the other one in about mid-50s. And they were blue. Didn't have paint on or anything. They were absolutely blue. And I took them into the office, got them a cuppa, and I said, look, don't worry about going to the referral agents, I'll do it. They'd been out for 3 nights. They didn't know about the night shelter. And we took them, and I honestly believe this. If they'd have been in another night, they'd have been dead. And we took them into the night shelter, and within 3 days, you wouldn't have recognized them, how they transformed. We offer them a meal when they come in at night, a bed, and there's an agency during the week that comes around and gives them a breakfast roll. Excuse me, or on a weekend they don't work because they only through the week, 5 days. The churches do a breakfast, but you want to see how these ladies blossomed, and they found accommodation and they got on their way. It came to the very beginning, and this one always gets me. When we came with the idea of the night shelter, God really showed us how to do it. And Caroline sent Jade off to London to see how they run them in London. And within 6 days, we'd had all the policies and procedures given to us. And we brought them back and adapted. We knew God was in this. Jade went off on the sunny travels for the summer. And I started doing all the presentations to anybody that would listen to me. Julian knows this. I went to everybody that would only half listen even. Talked to our wonderful Newport Council, who at the time, and still do, they've given them fancy titles now, but they used to be homeless officers. And they employed 4 people. And I sat down with the manager and said, this is what we plan to do, etc. Oh, he said, I can't see much of a point. I said, what do you mean? He said, we haven't got a problem. Well, we knew there was a problem because we see the guys out on the streets. And I thought, well, I didn't say it. I was polite, which is unusual for me. Why do you employ 4 homeless officers? And he said, well, we haven't really got a problem in Newport, maybe 1 or 2 or something like that. And I said, well, look, as far as I'm concerned as a Christian, if we do it for 1, that's enough for me. Oh, yeah. So we went on through the year. It came to the morning that we started. We set up everything, the referral agents. I was luckily on the first morning. Sorted that out with Jade afterwards, but I was the first one in. So we set it up, mobile phones, set it up with this people that do the breakfast run that come in to do the breakfast in the morning. And they were going to do referrals, sorted out all the policies, procedures. So they have a form that they fill in and then email it to us. So it came 11 o'clock. I hadn't heard anything. Checked the phone didn't work. Typical mobile phones. Got that sorted. So I started, the first point of call, I rang this one because they sort of go around between 7 and 8 in the mornings. I rang him up. I said, you haven't referred anybody into us? He said, no. I said, well, why? I don't like the way you've done the form. I said, okay, I'll be at your office now. Oh, what? Slammed the phone down, I was there. 5 minutes, I was sat in his office. We'd gone through the forms with him, only the week before, because he wanted changes. But this, he still wasn't happy. There was 4 questions, and what he wanted was tick boxes. He didn't want questions. So right, okay, we'll sort everything out. I said, tomorrow. He said, well, if you do that, he said, we'll start referring tomorrow. Okay. Because they finish at 12 o'clock. So on my way back, is there any police officers here or ex-police officers? No? I parked correctly when I saw Darren. I didn't actually. I just drove straight up onto the pavement, not to the grass. Jumped out, saw him wheeling. I couldn't find any of the guests that we normally know that come on the bus or anything. Couldn't find one. It was as though the rapture had come and taken them all. I drove up onto the pavement and I got out of the car, ran across. I said, Darren, do you know there's a night shelter on tonight? No, he said. Nobody's told me. I said, look, it's in St. Julian's Methodist, one that was up just now. I said, if you get there tonight, I'll refer you in. Come at 7 o'clock and you'll get a hot meal, you'll get a bed and whatever. Would you want to? Do you want to go? Yeah, I'll be there. So it went all day. I couldn't find anybody anywhere. Went all around, all their usual haunts, everywhere. Rang all the referral agents, nothing. So it came now to 7 o'clock, and I rang the coordinator of St. Jude's Methodist, and I said, I'm sorry, Sue. I explained what had gone on, but there's only going to be one in tonight. Oh, that's no problem. We still got the food done. I'll send half my staff home, and we'll just, a couple of us. But no, no problem, no problem. So we went in, got there at 7 o'clock, opened up, and about 7:10, Darren came up the road. So I took him in, introduced him to everybody, showed him his bed, showed him, his air bed, showed him his bag with all his bedding in, and took him in, and there was the table, because it's a big room, and then they got another room at the side with the kitchen, and all the tables were laid out. Myself and Jade's hat is fit to be as near 5-star as possible. So it's proper knives and forks, plates, glasses, jugs of water, juice, a tablecloth, not plastic ones, Christmas, nice ones. All laid out, and they always have done it, even now, for the last 4 years. Shepherd's pie. And it's like that. Meat like that, potato like that. It's huge. Veg and everything. Apple pie for afterwards. And I said to Darren, you settled now? Yes, he said. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go, because there's no point in me staying, because it was just him. And I said, I'll be back in the morning to see you. Oh, can I have a word with you? I thought, what's going to come now? He said, I feel a bit of a fraud. Why? He said, you've done all this, laid all this out, just for me. I said, well, that's fine. And I walked out, and I walked outside the church, and God said to me, you said you would do it just for one. He kept me to that word. I went back the next morning, and when Darren was going, he got his bags together, and Sue had done him a little sandwich pack and what have you. I went in, and I sat down with Sue, and I told her, well, I could have done with that many boxes of Kleenex, because she just went into floods of tears. This is how you can affect these people, by showing how God really loves them. And you can go and you can do something very, very simple, but it means so much. And that guy went, we helped him get back to London, back to his family, and he's sort of still estranged from his family, and he does still wander and whatever, but he does have accommodation now. And he does go back and interact with his family. And the following day we had 5, and then he went to 8, and we have a maximum of 12. And we've been full virtually, I would say, at least half the number of days we've been open so far. But that's really the night shelter. That's really how, in Newport, I have seen cracks. And what do I mean by cracks? I mean cracks in going out there, taking the church to people. Going out there and doing church there. If they're sat on the floor and they just don't know what to do, pick them up. Minister to them. Talk to them. Sometimes they'll tell you where to go. Okay. Some people just don't want the help. But as long as they know where they can go when they do want help. And that's the main thing. The guy that's just gone into rehab, he's been an alcoholic for years. And there's alcoholics and there's people that drink a lot of alcohol. This one was, and I will say was, a true alcoholic. He couldn't operate unless he had alcohol inside him. And that guy has been going around for years. And he's gone in and out. And I tried a few of the agencies, and they said, oh, it's no good. He's been in and out for years. But this year was his time. And he's gone in, not into a wet house where they drink alcohol. He's gone into a dry house. So please, his name is Simon. Please pray for him. Okay? He lost his daughter, little daughter, 5, several years ago. At that point, that's when everything fell apart. He also blames the rugby, but that's besides the point. I'd like to finish with something that when I went in, started with Teen Challenge, we used this verse from the Bible. It's 1 Corinthians 13. And it sounds quite doom and gloom what I've talked to you about this morning. But I hate to say this is reality. This is what people out there are suffering. And we're the ones that have the answer. And I believe for too long we've kept it to ourselves. We need to get out there. My wife is working with a family. They used to be homeless. They got together. They've now got 3 children. And because they've got horrendous backgrounds themselves, they're doing wonderfully with their kids, but doesn't meet social services standards. And they're on their back. And all credit to my wife, she has worked tirelessly for months and years with them to make sure that these children stay out of care. But it's 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. And verse 8, love never fails. And what I tried to do, and what I was taught many, many years ago, is to take the word love out and put your own name in there. So it would read, if I was doing it, Stuart is patient, Stuart is kind, he does not envy, he does not boast. I can't go on. But with God, I can go on. And with God, we can go out, and if it's a small thing, and this is the ideal time, and everybody thinks of the homeless at Christmas because we got family time. We have them all the year round, okay? They're not like a puppy just for Christmas, okay? They're all year round. We have God all the year round. Please, 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 pray for the guys, pray for us, pray for the church to really meet. There's so many things going on. There's street pastors, there's Teen Challenge, there's night shelter, there's hostels, there's things. Just open your eyes and please reach out to these people. Thank you. God bless you.